I started to play the fiddle sitting across from my father in the kitchen, and he would play a few bars and I would imitate that as best I could, trying to figure out where my fingers might go and desperately trying to figure out how this bow could draw a tone that I would even like from the fiddle. So the first years of music were centered around very basic elements like that. And after I kind of got some control over that, I started on my journey of preserving what it was I was learning from my father, from my neighbours, people around East Clare, old musicians, musicians of fame, musicians that nobody had heard of. And so my job seemed to be to preserve, at least that's what I felt it was at that particular point. And that led me to understand more and more about these musicians as I went on. And as they revealed themselves to me, they revealed a great subtlety, where they would talk about things like a plaintive note, or one note in a melody being significant. Now, many of these farmers were fellows who were driving cattle to the mart, on another day of the week, tramming hay, whatever. And you never realize just the depth of subtlety and the heart that it requires for them to feel one note in a melody, how significant that was. So I learned a lot about that heart and the passion, and I realized that sometimes their hands didn't always deliver what their heart felt. But once you were able to journey towards them to find out what they were saying from their heart, then you really heard the music in all its power. It was a great lesson. And what I learned was that, just as you'll probably hear later on this evening, that all I needed to know was around me. It was very close at hand. And I know Clare has a great reputation for music, but there's great music everywhere, because the truth was, I learned more from the not-so-great musicians than I did from the great ones, which was another lesson. And see, music is a wonderful metaphor, and it teaches a lot of lessons. Now, I haven't learned the lessons, but I've observed how they work in the form of music. I've learned about the courage and the need for freedom, the need to be spontaneous, the need to be present, I think, more than almost anything. And so I imagine that as music is a metaphor for me in my own life, and I attempt to try to live my life, trailing after that. But I feel that there is something in the wisdom of knowing what's all around you and playing that applies to us in many other elements and areas of our life, and I'm sure that will be part of it this evening. Anyway, I'll just play. Here we go.